Welcome to The Artist Matters. I'm Alex Rudy. Each episode features an artist sharing their creative journey, their origins, what inspires them, their process, and offering up a little inspiration, motivation, and advice to help you on your creative journey. Whether you're doing it for fun or looking to make a living, this show will help you on your journey and let the world know your art matters. Well, hello everybody. I'm back. Did you miss me? Had to take the month off, huh? And, well, it has been a memorable month, but for the wrong reasons. Obviously, we got hit with the coronavirus, the pandemic that has spread globally and has effectively shut down most of the world. And unfortunately, it has affected a lot of the creative community. Movie productions have shut down, tourism is down, amusement parks are closed, movie theaters are closed, theatrical stage houses are closed. Many events and conventions all canceled. And man, it breaks my heart. A lot of my creative friends have had to stop their work. Many of them have been guests on the show. They had to stop taking appointments for clients wanting tattoos. Had to cancel acting classes. Gigs for musicians have been canceled. Plays that were coming up for many of my guests, they've been canceled. It's heartbreaking. And I've never seen anything like this in all my years. But many creatives have found a way to still do what they do in different ways, whether it's offering up some of their classes for free or more podcast episodes or doing video chats or video presentations to keep people connected. They're doing it, and I'm grateful for that. And grateful that I'm still able to do this. It has helped, unfortunately, free up some guests, and I've been able to connect with people I've been wanting to connect to for a long time. And many of them are home. I'm not one of them. I still have to go to my day job. I really wish I could be home so I could be working on more things for the podcast or taking other courses or even just editing videos I have. There's a lot I'd like to do creatively, read some books. And I can't do any of that. Still have to go to the day job. Son of a gun. But I'm here. And I have a really cool guest. Her name is Nancy Norbeck. She is a writer, creativity coach, actor, singer, and podcaster. It's through one of my previous guests, Sam Kimberly, when she posted on the Don't Keep Your Day Job Facebook group, if anyone has podcasts, what's it about? So, of course, I posted this one, and I got a few bites from people, and Nancy was one of them, mentioning that her podcast, Follow Your Curiosity, seems very similar to mine. So that piqued my interest, and I listened to a few episodes, and she does a great job chatting with people, not just artists, but other people going on some journeys. Why are they following their curiosity in the first place? What's leading them on these journeys? There's a lot of stories, some things I never even thought about, but you got to check it out. But more about Nancy. She was born in Pennsylvania and now lives in New Jersey. Her family was very creative. Parents were very musically inclined. Mom played the flute and sang in choirs. So did her dad. And she followed, singing in the choirs and also auditioning and acting in some plays. But she always had a love for books and would read so many books as a child and later on in the years, and she would just write little stories. And she did take a break for a while, but As time went on, she got back into it and eventually ended up taking her MFA at Goddard University, which has a very unique teaching method. She'll explain that. She also went on to Kaizen-Muse Creativity Coaching and has become a creativity coach. I didn't know they existed. But man, it is such a great service. She goes into more of that and her writing process and, of course, her podcast, Follow Your Curiosity. And, of course, there's so much more. But don't hear it from me. Let's hear it from her and get into this. Here's my chat with Nancy Norbeck. Welcome to the show, Nancy. Hi.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thanks for being on, because your art matters. Yay. And very similar podcast, as we'll get to hear later on. But let's begin at the beginning, Nancy. Are you ready?
Sure.
Did you grow up in New Jersey?
I did not. I grew up in central Pennsylvania, in York, home of the barbells, the air conditioners, and the York peppermint patties before Hershey bought them and moved them to Mexico.
Mexico. And Hershey's in Pennsylvania. That's kind of bizarre, too, at the same time.
Yeah, but they make them in Mexico. But they used to make them right down the street from my great-grandmother's house. And we would go down, and you could buy the second quality ones. Like, the chocolate wasn't even, or there were spots that the chocolate didn't cover, in tiny little paper bags for next to nothing right there in the store. You could never do it today. There was like no, they weren't sealed properly. There was no nothing. It was very, sure, come and get the rejects. But yeah, but it was one of those weird little childhood memories that sticks with you.
Was that a very creative hub of a place to grow up in?
In York? I think it's more of a creative hub now, but I grew up in a pretty creative family, so that kind of made up for it. I mean, now there are some really interesting arts organizations in York, and there was, say, York Little Theater, which has just changed its name, I think, to the Belmont Theater, which I don't like, and I think that's probably a sign that I'm older than I want to admit, as much as anything else. And there was a York Symphony and, things like that. And I did go to classes for kids at York Little Theater when I was a little squirt, when mom and dad needed to occupy me for a couple hours on a Saturday morning, that kind of thing. But my parents both are very musical in particular. My mom would teach flute lessons, and, so I would come home and I would hear her playing the flute half a block away if it was a nice day and the windows were open. And both of my parents have sung in choirs since forever, as do I. So, there was always music in the house. There was always somebody doing something. And, my dad is an electrical engineer who now knows how to arrange flowers. My father will take the silk flowers, all of the silk flower arrangements in their houses he has done. And, but still, there was a lot of, let's come play with, how do you do this? How do you do this science experiment? I would get this thing in the mail, kind of like the boxes that kids get now that you can get with like how to build something, or, the themed boxes you get every month. Well, this was just a little science kit, and it would have a science experiment in it, and we would sit down and figure out how to do the science experiment that month. So there was always some kind of curiosity, creativity thing going on. And my mother reads so many books, and I know because she keeps a list every year. So she has a catalog of all of the books that she has inhaled over the course of the last 365 days. So that was always a big thing too.
Wow. So did that get you interested in books and writing?
I spent a lot of time with books when I was a kid because I was the bullied kid. So I didn't have a whole lot of friends when I was small. In fact, I really didn't have any for a while. So it was all the books, all the time. And yeah, I've told people when I was little, there were really only three things that I wanted to do. I wanted to act, I wanted to sing, and I wanted to read books. And to the extent that I understood as a 5-year-old that they could be written, I wanted to write them. But I didn't really write anything until I was in about 4th grade. And that was just sort of a one-off thing. So that that came back later. But I was inhaling all the books I could get my grubby little bits on.
What were your early childhood favorites?
I remember reading a lot of, there was a series of Raggedy Ann books that I feel like I must have been one of the only people who ever read them, because you don't hear about them. Whereas you do hear about Nancy Drew. I read Nancy Drew constantly. I worked through a lot of the Bobbsey twins books in the school library. Anything that my school librarian recommended to me, I would pretty much pick up and read. So, but as far as the series books, it was definitely those two. Any kind of road trip, the answer to how do you keep the kids busy in the car, at least for me, was you hand her a book. My brother, you handed a sketchbook and a pencil. Me, it was a book.
Mm-hmm. So he was into drawing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's an architect now.
Wow.
No coincidence there.
Now, you mentioned your mom and dad were in the choirs. Did you join them and sing in the choirs?
Yeah. I think I was about 4 when they first put me in the church choir for the little kids. And I never stopped.
You sang? You weren't like fidgeting and running around? You sang?
I probably did some of both at 4.
Yeah.
If we're honest. But yeah, no, I really stuck with it. It was just, and I think part of it is just that it was so normal in our house. Though my brother did it for a while. I think as soon as he got to the point where he could say thanks, but no, he did. I think that may have been a little bit of a rebellion thing with him. Like, yeah, you all do your thing. I'm going to do something else. But I've always just found it to be a really, I don't even know exactly how to describe it. There's something about singing with other people, and especially singing in harmony, that is just unlike anything else. So, yeah, give me a choir. If I haven't sung in a choir for too long, I know, because I start to feel like something's wrong.
Got to keep that instrument fine-tuned.
Mm-hmm.
And then you auditioned for some plays also. What made you decide, I want to audition for some plays here?
I did some acting when I was little, like the theater classes and that kind of thing. And I had a teacher in elementary school who ran the gifted program, which back then for us meant Monday afternoons you weren't in your regular classes. You went for 2 or 3 hours and were in her class instead. And a lot of things that we did were not officially plays, but we would, have a skit in our hands and act it out. So I got interested in doing that. And then back about 20 years ago, not long after I moved to New Jersey, I signed up for an acting class at the local adult school because I thought, hey, why not? It's been a while since I've played with any of this. And it ended up going from, the 1 semester course. He added like a 102 class, and then we continued outside of the official adult school program for a couple of years, maybe another 2 or 3 years. So we were playing with all sorts of little 1-act plays and improv exercises and things like that. And there was a group called the Theater Guild of New Jersey at the time, which I think that group died with its founder about 15 or 20 years ago. And I just went to an audition because I thought, why not? And so a couple terms in a row, I ended up in a 1-act play and had a great time doing it. And I thought about playing with directing a little bit and all of that. And then the group kind of dried up because the leadership was gone. But, I always loved the idea of, pretending to be somebody else like we all do when we're little kids, right? We're all, Batman or Wonder Woman or the Bionic Woman back then, whoever we've seen on TV, we're going to go out and pretend to be. And, I probably kind of pretended to be Nancy Drew too, because I read enough of those books. So I just wanted to play with it again. And then I got a teaching job and I realized it was going to be a lot harder to sustain both of them. So I didn't do it for a while. And I started doing improv again a year and a half ago, I guess, which I think improv is not just an exercise, it's a way of life, but that's a whole philosophical conversation.